We continue with the Acts of the Apostles, and we're beginning with the first, or preparing, you could say, for the first council of the church. There is some differing of opinion as to what is required of the Christian. Paul is bringing people of a non-Jewish background to faith, and some of the apostles and some of the early Christians who were previously of a Jewish background are wanting to impose Jewish customs and traditions upon those who had converted from paganism to Christianity but hadn't become Jewish. And so we have this discussion which we'll see over the next few days, ends with a bit of an argument, but it includes a bit of an argument and eventually ends with everyone being able to recognise that God works in different ways. But we see Paul and Barnabas have realised there's a disagreement, and they've recognised the fact they need to travel to Jerusalem to meet with the people in person, to meet with James, with Peter and others to discuss this out. And that's where we're at with the Acts of the Apostles today. So there's a disagreement about circumcision. Paul and Barnabas have decided to get up, and they've gone. They've gone on this journey towards Jerusalem, which wasn't a short journey. This is a very, very lengthy journey. The value of people gathering together in faith is a very important thing. And what we've experienced over the last 12 months, globally, we haven't been able to gather together. We've been able to gather in some small ways in a virtual capacity, but it's not the same. Sending letters back and forth, or even speaking on the phone is not the same as being there in person. And so Paul put the whole mission on hold, which is quite interesting. He'd been going from place to place. We heard about this over the last few days. All these different places he was going to, starting Christian communities in these different places. Suddenly got to the stage there's a massive disagreement. And he said, put everything on hold. We need to discuss this. And he's gone all the way back to Jerusalem, many hundreds of kilometres, to then enter into this conversation. I think this is a great model. When there is significant disagreement, sometimes we need to put the mission on hold. We need to put where we're going on hold to eliminate this disagreement, to bring peace. Because you can't bring a mission of the Lord if there is disharmony within the community. So first and foremost, we need peace. So Paul is seeking peace, and he also respects the fact the Christian community need to gather together to discuss this. So when there's disharmony, we need to gather in whatever way we can to reflect, to pray, and to discern what is the will of God. This is what Paul is setting us up for over the next few days. A community that will gather to reflect, to recognise this disharmony, this disunity, and to seek discernment and then the will of God. I think this is a great model for us in our own lives as well. We should be aware of what's going on in our own community. If there is disunity, if there is disharmony, it needs to be raised. We shouldn't just sweep it under the carpet. We should raise and discuss what the issues are, discern what is the will of God, and then we can move forward in the mission of the church, the mission of peace in our world. Let us go rejoicing to the house of the Lord. I think it's a beautiful psalm to go hand in hand with this first reading. St. Paul perhaps wasn't rejoicing. He probably had anger, he probably had all sort of bitterness to saying, why are we putting all this on hold? Why are you objecting to what we're trying to do as legitimate? But our psalm reminds us he's gone rejoicing to Jerusalem to bring peace and to seek the will of God. And perhaps that's a good response for us when we feel like things aren't going so well. Let us go rejoicing to the house of the Lord to seek peace, to seek unity, to seek the will of God.